Okay, good afternoon. Thanks all for joining. This is Robert Vilahamn's press conference to preview our game against Chelsea at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday. We'll go straight to the online feed for questions today, so please use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask questions. Alex, would you like to kick us off?
Afternoon, Robert. Just as always, can we get team news ahead of Sunday, please?
Drew and Evelina will return from suspension and no new injuries picking up yet, so we look strong.
Perfect. Of course, Sunday you can't really get a tougher match from Chelsea, now confirmed as champions after Wednesday, looking to go the whole domestic season unbeaten. Can I just kind of get your thoughts on just how impressive they've been this season? And of course there's the potential, as it's tradition kind of in England, that Spurs would give Chelsea a guard of honour ahead of the match. Can you just talk about that maybe as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to follow that routine and honour and make sure we give them that, because they definitely deserve that. I'm very impressed by Chelsea the last, is it 6 seasons in a row? But the main thing this season is with the new manager and quite many new players. So what they are doing in the women's game is massive, and I think they are great role models for many clubs to follow. And we're trying to keep our pace to get there as well. But I'm very impressed what they are doing, and they are very good.
I just want to touch on like the recent players really. On against Liverpool again on Sunday, sorry. Vilahamn featured in the second half. I think that's her 40th minute or something in the past 3 matches. Can you just talk about kind of how she's had this kind of comeback at Spurs? Because you go back 6 months and it looked like her career at Spurs was probably over. Has she impressed you in training yet?
Sorry, did you say Rosella? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she came back from the loan from Chicago, and you know, she had picked up a new injury, but then when she started to get rid of that and train, she trained consistently better and better and performed in a way where she competes. And obviously she has some strength that we use in the games, and so obviously she have a good competition in her positions, but we always go for the competition in training, and right now she's competing very well, and then obviously she gets the minutes she deserves.
First half of the season featured a lot for you off the bench. Recently it's not really been the case. Obviously she's only young, she'll develop, but why has she not maybe featured as much recently?
I think she's been actually brilliant this season, and the steps she ever taken. Perhaps we didn't expect that, but she's taken steps and played some minutes and competed. The main thing, I see her as a 9, and right now when we train, she's a winger, because we have Beth and Martha training as a 9, which means that she playing in a different role. She has strength in that position as well, and she's always an option to come onto the games. But then it's different games, different scenarios. What do we need? What do we don't need? Last game she had a neck problem, so she was in the squad, but she was still very tight in her neck, and then it was the last sub I could do. Then I was like, should I bring her on anyway? And then it was like, we don't have any more subs, so it was a 50-50 sub, and then I didn't pick her for that game. So she's always an alternative. The game before that she got a few minutes against Aston Villa, so she's in around, she's taking good steps. I want to give her more minutes because she's a really cool character and she's a good player, but we are also competing and struggling in the games where we not really have all the easy substitutions every game, and we have a hard competition. But for me, she's in and around the starting 11 and coming on to the big game every game. But then it's 5 subs I can do, and sometimes it's not the right timing for that.
Thank you. Best of luck on Sunday.
Cheers.
Jamie.
Hey Robert, nice to see you. Robert, compared to last season, Spurs have scored 6 less goals and conceded 6 more, but given there's 2 games left, it's not that much of a difference compared to a 6th place finish and a 10th place finish. I wonder, Robert, where have you seen the differences been with this team? Because on the stats it's not that different, whereas on the table it is.
Yeah, I think it's we have created ourselves the position we have. I think you have a few games where I think we should have won those games against teams around us. If we would have won 2 or 2.5 of those games, we would have been on the 5th place. Then that's the small margin as we speak about when everybody's saying that we have the worst season ever. But it's true though, we are not overachieving, we are actually underachieving, but it's a few small games that could have made this table look a little bit better. But to be honest, I don't really care if we are 5th or 10th. It's more like we need to be much better in being consistent when we play. Some games against the top teams, we need to be much more competitive and find ways to compete in those games. And some games we need to deliver more goals and have better clean sheets so we win these other games. So we're going to learn a lot from this season, and it's not only on the pitch. We need to learn a lot off the pitch in the club as well. And I can promise you there's a lot of stuff we know that we haven't been doing so good that we need to improve on. But perhaps we didn't know it before we went into the season, and now we know. So I think it's a mixture of learning by mistakes or stuff that we didn't know. But that's the whole plan with patience and what we want to do. Stats-wise, how we play, how we want to show an identity. We have an identity. We have a certain style of play. But we need to win games through that as well. We cannot just sit here 3 years in a row and say we're playing some good football. But that's what we're trying to solve. That's why we always try to push for the next level. So it's not a good season. We're not happy with it. But I'm very sure what we need to do to make it better next season.
And just on Chelsea, Robert, it feels like for the last 5 seasons they've either won the league on the final day or on the penultimate day, whereas this season it's 3 games out, they're invincible, 2 games left to play. For you as someone that, you coached against Emma Hayes and now you're coaching against Sonia, is there any glaring difference? Do you think they're playing different football? Is there any change there?
I think Chelsea is so dynamic in how they play. Of course you see a style, but then you see tactical aspects, and I think Sonia's brought a few of them with sometimes playing Baltimore to the left back and then move her up anyway and build on 3. You can see a lot of rotations, but you can also see the different types of players. So even if they play the same formation, when they play a certain player and Ramirez as a 9 or Beaver Jones as a 9, then you get different dynamics. And I think that's the biggest strength they have, that they have an organization, they have tactics, but they also have some high quality players, and the bench is also high quality players, so they can always find ways to get into the game or find a way to win the game. Last game they find a set piece to score on. So, and I think that shows the high quality of what they are doing. And obviously they showed everything in the transfer window around Christmas as well, that they keep investing. So us and the other clubs need to keep going and keep going, because otherwise they're going to extend the gap, and we don't want that.
And just last one from me, Robert, on Martha Thomas. She hasn't scored in the league this year, but it feels like it's been a bit of a transitional year for her. We knew her as a traditional 9, now she's playing a lot more positions. Has this been more of a learning campaign for Martha, and can you kind of shed some light on what you've been working on with her specifically? Yeah,
I think it's a long season, and she's been in different roles. She started as a 9, and Bethany didn't play, and she was really on fire in the preseason, scoring goals and creating points. Then we went into the season with her as a 9 and Beth on the bench, which were to keep Beth on the bench, you need to find your way to deliver. And I think Martha did well, though. She pressed well, and she created chances. But after a few games, then you don't score and you don't do assist, and we're starting to perhaps lose a few games. Then Beth in England will knock on the door and say, I want to play. And she's a leadership player that you want on the pitch as well. So when that happened, I started to move Martha around a little bit, or put her on the bench sometimes, and then that have an impact on her self-confidence. And she already had a few games where she didn't score, so perhaps that's the bad wheel of confidence, but it's also something that you need to go through. I need to pick the players I believe in for that day, and so on. The good thing with Martha is she works so hard for the team, and she's really worked the whole season to get better and stop that 0 in her goal scoring thing. She has scored a few goals in the cup, though. But the main thing is, right now she's the 9, and she's competing with Beth in England, and right now she's giving us some good stuff, but she's not playing 90 minutes. But for me, she's a loyal player. I know what she can do. You saw it last season, so it's just a matter of time before she starts scoring again.
Brilliant. Thanks, Robert. Best of luck.
Cheers.
Dan Pentland.
Hey, Robert. Hope you're well. One of the things we've kind of loved about Spurs during your time in charge is the fact that, you go and attack. It's all about your attacking principles. I suppose, you've struggled for wins lately, but the last 3 games, obviously Leicester, I think you dominated the attacking play there. You've been really competitive and scored 2 goals in the last 2 games. So does it feel like you're beginning to find that kind of momentum going into the end of the season?
Yeah, I think from Brighton was not a good game, but from West Ham and to this game, we have actually, performance-wise, looked like we want to do and created chances, and in games we have failed to defend the box, or some crucial moments where the opponent have scored. And then we have started to score and come back in games, but then we haven't closed the game. So right now we are performing decent and we play the way we want to do it, but we're not good enough to manage the games. And it's a mixture of that as well, because basically all teams in this league is have high quality players, and it's connecting to the bad run of games we have. We are still people playing with confidence, and sometimes the confidence is a little bit lacking because you haven't won for a while. Chelsea normally find ways to win because they have a great confidence, because they normally win all the time. But you deserve that, so you need to find ways to do it. And I think right now we deserve to compete, and right now we actually play a certain style which I know going to give our players a good platform for next season. Then I know that fans, media, everybody's going to say you're not winning games, you haven't won in 7 games or whatever it is. I get that, and we're trying everything we can to win, but we're also trying to make sure we do it through the way we do, the way we recruit players, the way we want to educate players and develop players. And that's why I'm quite calm. I'm not so stressed about what we're doing and how we progress, but I need to be a little bit more stressed on how we get the wins, because we need to win. But that's what we're working on every day, to try to find a right way to do it. But look, we are competing, we are playing some good football, but I get it. We need to win games as well.
You mentioned about the learnings this season, and that maybe it hasn't been the best season, but do you feel like a lot of the answers for next season are already in front of you? That they're at, it's the players at the club. It doesn't need to be kind of, panic stations and wholesale changes, that sort of thing. Do you feel that you've got the answers, or a lot of the answers, close by to you?
Definitely. I think some things we have seen during this season has not been possible to solve until after the season, because you are in it. And that's one thing. And then you also see the steps we take as a club. There's a new CEO coming in as well you can see his CV focusing on the women's game and to make sure we take the next step with everything as well. So I think you see this and you see how we play the last games, then you can still see that, okay, we actually looks like something we want to be and something that we can take steps with. But then obviously you need a result. So next season we need to take the next step with that. We don't want to be one of everyone else. We want to be at least best of the rest, and we want to close that gap to try to compete for the Champions League. And this summer will be a very big transition into that, to take the right decision among the environment, the club, the staff, the players, because we know that we need to step up, but we also know how to step up. So that's why I'm quite calm with that.
That's brilliant. Appreciate that, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Cheers.
Jacob.
Hi Robert, I hope you're well. There have been some amazing memories of the Stadium, most notably the North London Derby win and the FA Cup semi-final win last year. How important and exciting is it to have the prospect to play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again? I
mean, we love to be at that stadium, and I know that our fans love to be there, and I think you also love to be there as media. It's a really good environment. Normally we play the big games there against top teams. It's always tough games. Now with Chelsea, who haven't lost for 20 games, but that's what we want to do. We want to play the big games at the big stadiums, and we want to compete. So this is a good chance to show everybody that we are a good team. We really want to be the first team that beats Chelsea, to show that, okay, we had a tough season, but we were showing some steps forward with that. And I really want to show that we can stick with our identity and find ways to compete against Chelsea, but still, of course, be smart in some situations. But, overall, it's going to be an amazing game against Chelsea at our stadium. It's going to be amazing.
We saw the impact the atmosphere can have on the team and at the stadium last night, where the Spurs men's fans got behind the team in a difficult time, not too dissimilar from what we're going through so far. What's your main message to the fans ahead of Sunday's game against Chelsea?
What I really love with our fans is that they have so much passion and feelings, and they can be upset, they can be angry, they can be happy, but they always support us. They always come back and support us, and I think that's the core fans that I love, that they can show their feelings. They can be angry, happy, but they always are loyal to come back and support us. And I know that we're going to have the fans behind us in the game on Sunday, and we're going to do everything we can to get a win together.
And lastly for me, as you touched on in the press conference so far, there's been a lot of encouragement in recent weeks. We've had good performances against West Ham, Leicester, Villa and Liverpool, whilst not necessarily getting the results you would hope for. How much do you analyse data post-match, and are you still taking encouragement from the fact that what the performances are there despite maybe not the results?
Yeah, we're kind of having every week we have the feedback following up on tactics, of course, but also the data that we think is most necessary for us to make sure we look the way we want to look. So obviously in possession, we want to have the possession. We want to make sure we are having a good high passing accuracy. We want to make sure we reach some spaces that we want to do, and we want to have a high XG and so on. And out of possession, we look at how good we actually press and how few seconds the opponent have the ball and so on. So we're using the data in a way where we measure the way we play. We still can take steps there, because I think if you only look at the result, you will always be black and white. But if you look at the data, the tactics, then you know what you're doing and what you need to improve, and that's the way we're going to do it, and that will take us to the result. So we're using it a lot.
Thank you very much, Robert. Best of luck on Sunday. Cheers.
Cheers.
Chris?
Hi, Robert. Hope you're well. Of course, it has been a very tough league season, which we've spoken at length about, during the season. But of course, it was a very good battle at Liverpool last weekend. What are the main things you want to see in these remaining two WSL games against Chelsea and Everton?
I think I want to see us show the club and the fans that we are doing everything we can for this club to make sure we finish on a high and get over the finish line. So if not working with everything we try to play, I want to see this commitment to defend, to take the duels, to run back, and make sure we show the attitude to wear the Tottenham shirt and make sure we are proud of that. But through that, I would need us to be brave. I want us to be brave enough to make sure we're there, even if we are not winning games right now. So if you look at the first goal against Liverpool, we are one down and we are playing out from the back, and we're having some really good combination play, and we play through their press, and then we go and attack, and then we score that. Obviously it's an own goal, but it's how we get to that chance and how we get to that goal. So I still want to see that bravery in our players, but also the determination to make sure we fight for this club, because they are paying our salaries and we are very proud to be a part of this club.
It was recently announced that Beck England and Helen Morris won the Supporter Player of the Season awards. I just wondered and wanted to ask you, from a manager's perspective, who are the most improved players this season? Who have you seen the most growth from?
I think Ella Morris is obviously a signing we had a lot of potential in. She haven't played in the Women's Super League before. When you see her play now, she has so much energy, so much bravery, and she's so much commitment to what we are doing here. So I'm very impressed what she's doing, and I'm very happy for her, because she's a great role model as a person as well. So she deserves that. Then it's a few players have been up and down, of course, but I still think it's like Molly Bartrip is always very consistent in how she's doing and always delivering on the pitch. Evelina Summanen, really consistent as well. It's nice to see Olivia Holt coming now and actually understanding how we want to play and taking steps with it, because she has a higher potential. It's really nice to see Jessica Nass coming back from perhaps a little bit of a spell of bad games, and now she's really on fire again, and I really hope that she can make it for the England squad. But there's been an inconsistent year with the performances, but there's been a lot of players who through that actually have taken steps anyway. So that's why I think for the next season we've seen how they've gone through this and how we can learn from this, and definitely me as well. I've learned a lot, even if I have done a few mistakes, of course.
Well, in the last couple of weeks, we've spoken a number of times. You touched on your backroom staff changing within the last year or so. As a manager, how difficult has that been? How difficult is it?
To be honest, it's extremely difficult, because my leadership is built on the people around me. I want to have a specialist in each area, and I give them the responsibility to grow with that team, and then we circle that together. So when you lose your head of analyst, when you lose one of your assistant, when you're changing goalkeeper coach as well, and then when you bring in new people in, it's a lot of new relationships. Doesn't mean that those who's coming in is not good. They are amazing, but it's still a phase where you get to know each other. And when you do that in the middle of the season, it's really hard, because you don't have a whole preseason. So that's something we're really learning from this year, that we couldn't do anything else about it, because they signed for American clubs, and we are happy for their sake, but it affects us. It have an impact. But it's a part of the game, so you cannot do so much about it. But it's definitely one of the things that we know that could have been better for this season, definitely.
Well, lastly from me, the club won an award last night at the Women's Football Awards for diversity, equality and inclusion. You must be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think we are doing some good stuff for diversity. I think we are gender equity. We were, I think the social media was also second place, I think. So I think the club is doing everything we can to grow in each area, right? So we're not always winning on the football pitch, but you can just see the social media team, how they are building our network to make sure we can grow from that end, the diversity to make sure we are one club for everyone. I really love that as well. So that's why I'm proud to work for this club, because there's so much good stuff happening, but we're not there yet where we can say that we are perfect, but we are taking steps in different angles, and I think that's why it's fun to work here.